What's on your mind, Bronco Nation, with this football team? You're back in the top 15. You legitimately have the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Oh, yeah, there's a 12-team college football playoff tournament this year, the first of its kind. You have a good position to get in that, Boise State fan, with your 5-1 record and really only at UNLV, a big test in front of you. Does it feel like old times, Bronco Nation? How are you feeling about this team? What's on your mind? We're going to take calls this half hour, 208-424-9300. Prater, we wanted to start this, though, on the odds-on Heisman favorite, Ashton Jeanty, a very workman-like performance Saturday on the island. But I'll tell you, that's the type of performance, Michael, that NFL scouts are going to fall in love with a lot more than maybe Heisman voters, right?
I love seeing him get beat up. I love seeing him get having to work. It's so much fun to watch Ashton Jeanty bust one for 75 yards on regular plays, and he almost did it on the first play of the game here, kind of like one of that quick, and then he got quickly tackled. It was really cool to see him do what he had to do, bounce off players. You know, it was funny. You brought this up earlier in the show. Dirk Cutter was saying last week, all I want is 4 yards, and that's kind of what Ashton Jeanty did. 4 yards here, 4 tough yards there, 4 brutal yards there. And it was really cool to see. He's going to have a couple more games like this. And at the end of the day, there isn't anybody on this planet outside of Boise, Idaho, who saw how the sausage was made with those 220 yards. And maybe that's a shame, because it was probably just as impressive as some of his other stuff, just the way he grinded, the way he worked. And you're right, the way he played football like he was an NFL football player, an NFL running back, just out there doing what he had to do, and it was really fun to see.
It was, man. 31 carries for Ashton Jeanty. There kind of went the whole debate of, hey, he's not going to get enough carries. It's going to kill his Heisman, Prater.
But if you paid attention to Twitter closely, the last couple of weeks, everybody that's been criticizing Boise State for not giving Ashton Jeanty enough carries has been local fans, Boise State fans. Everybody criticizing Ashton Jeanty for getting too many carries this weekend, it was the national perspective. Because they think all they see is like, oh my God, you're working this guy to death with 31 carries. So it was two completely different audiences. One national that are worried that Boise State's grinding their work running back into the ground, and then Boise State fans who complained 2 weeks ago because they want to see the same thing you and I want to see. Ashton Jeanty run the football.
Yeah, where do you guys sit on that of, Jeanty carries, where to keep him wherever you want in this Heisman race and the individual accolades that look like are coming his way in a couple months versus where you want your team to be in the situation? Look, they're already down in the running back room, Prater. You think Sire Gaines is probably out for the year.
I believe Sire Gaines is out for the year.
I think he probably is too, at least to the point where if he comes back, it's going to be like December or something. And you have Breezy Dubar, who's battling injuries. They didn't feel like he was good enough to play. He was kind of a late scratch, or a scratch, if you will. He'd been in practice. He had been playing the previous week. And all of a sudden, he doesn't play. You needed Ashton Jeanty. And Dirk Cutter, you saw the stats. He wasn't about to give Tyler Crow and Dylan Riley a bunch of carries in that game to spell Ashton Jeanty. Riley had, 3 or 4 carries? Tyler Crow only had 1. Jeanty got every other carry. And after 6 games, Prater, he's ahead of where Barry Sanders was after 6 games in his legendary 1988 season. He's the odds-on favorite again to win the Heisman. Travis Hunter, I don't know if he's going to play this week. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Jeanty obviously doesn't,
and Vegas
he has a bye.
Yeah, and Vegas spoke mightily of that. I mean, Travis Hunter already, obviously it wasn't productive Saturday night, so they take that into account. He dropped significantly in the Heisman odds. In the Heisman odds. So you never want to see another man beat. Dylan Gabriel is now the number 2 betting favorite after his performance. Dylan Gabriel was we were making fun of Dylan Gabriel on Friday, saying he might be the 30th best player in this game over the weekend. I've warned people, and you're going to see it. And hopefully Ashton Jeanty, because he's done enough at this point to take the freakiness out of this award. This is such a flaky award. And if Ashton Jeanty, I'm afraid if Ashton Jeanty has an 89-yard, 1 touchdown performance, they're going to drop him 5 spots, because that's how stupid this flakiness is when it comes to the Heisman Trophy. It really bothers me, but thank God Ashton Jeanty has taken it into his own hands. He's not giving anybody any doubt whatsoever. It's a solid unanimous that he's the Heisman Trophy guy as we sit here today.
If it's not going to be Ashton Jeanty, who do you think is going to take it from him? 208-424-9300. Call our double tap pub hotline. If it's not Jeanty, who do you see ultimately winning this? Is it a flaky situation that maybe you don't know yet? We've seen that a million times with the Heisman, where the guy who ends up winning it doesn't even get mentioned for it until around Halloween. That was Johnny Manziel a decade ago now, more than that, Prater. If you remember, he went into Tuscaloosa, had that magical moment, and then all of a sudden Johnny Manziel was your Heisman winner, but they didn't talk about him before he went in and did that. So if that is coming for somebody else and they have that moment, it does feel to me like people are waiting to be like, see, I told you. It's either the level of competition, right, as the main culprit, I think, for why he won't win the Heisman. I think they'll pick on that schedule. I think that's going to get in the way. I don't know if it's another player. I think it's going to be the group of five that we've been talking about for a year on this. If there's one thing that's going to snatch this from him, I think it's going to be people are just going to look at the league he plays in, Prater.
I couldn't agree with you or disagree with you more. I think this country has fallen in love with Ashton Jeanty. There's outside of one guy here, one knucklehead there, some dude in his basement in his underwear. I mean, 99% of all people, the powerful people, the Heisman Trophy voters, the college football insiders, the ESPNs and the Foxes and the CBSs and everybody in the world loves Ashton Jeanty's story, the fact that he stayed at a group of five program. I think Ashton Jeanty I don't think he has to worry about that stigma whatsoever. Now, if he's got to keep performing at a very high level because his standard is going to be higher, back to your original point. But I don't think people are waiting for Ashton Jeanty to fail because of the competition thing, because of the group of five thing. I think people are completely enamored with Ashton Jeanty and they want to see him win it. And as long as he continues to do what he does, I don't think there's any barriers that are going to get in the way of him winning this Heisman Trophy.
Yeah. Do you think another bye week slows a little momentum?
No. I mean, I suppose if Dylan Gabriel goes out and has a perfect game against Purdue, maybe but who cares if what Vegas thinks in October, for God's sakes? Who cares if Dylan Gabriel passes Ashton Jeanty, who's now the number 2 betting favorite behind Dylan Gabriel? Who cares? That's going to go back and forth all the time. When it comes to the Heisman Trophy, there's going to be no damage done whatsoever with a bye week. Everybody has them. Everybody has to deal with them. He doesn't have any bye weeks in the month of after this, so he's going to be nothing but football in crunch time when other teams are going to be having bye weeks. I don't think that comes into play whatsoever.
Yeah, 208 rushing yards per game Ashton Jeanty is averaging on this season. Prater,
you know what the most important number is than that?
What's that? 9.9?
No, going back to his carries. That seems what everybody's obsessed with. He's averaging 21 carries a game. Dirk Cutter's done a beautiful job of taking care of his body. He's averaging 21 carries a game, and he's only caught 9 passes.
That's crazy.
So he's averaging 22 and a third, whatever, touches a game.
Yep.
That's nothing. And I think Dirk Cutter, well, I'm not going to say I think. I know Dirk Cutter has a grasp on that and is taking advantage of it. When Dirk Cutter knows that he doesn't need him, he's going to carry the ball 15 times. When Dirk Cutter knows that he's going to need him, he's going to carry the ball 31 times. And at the end of the year, the average is going to be like 25, 26, the perfect sweet spot number that we've always talked about.
It's going to even out. Yeah.
Well, I think so.
I think so too.
I don't know for sure, but I that's how I would forecast it. And I strongly believe that.
The only question I would have, honestly, is if there is another 2 teams on this schedule that are going to have Ashton Jeanty that are going to be good enough to do what Hawaii did and not give up the huge explosive runs and just make him kind of lunch pail you with 31 carries for over 200 yards and get his yardage that way. It's almost a pick your poison thing on this thing, Prater. I think with this schedule coming up, dang, maybe Jeff Choate will have something, similar to what Hawaii did. I don't know. Barry Odom, we love the guy at UNLV. Jeanty's going to be mega healthy going into that game. And this offense, Dirk Cutter is going to get 2 weeks to prep for a UNLV defense. Dirk Cutter knows what he's doing. You give him an extra week. that's going to be an ugly situation. It could be as well.
I don't know about that, because I think UNLV's defense is pretty good. They're only giving up 3 yards a carry all season long, and their run defense is really, really, really good. I think Jeanty's going to be tested. I'm not sitting here telling you that he's not going to get stopped or slowed down. He's going to be tested like he was against Hawaii, and I still expect him to go out and rush for 175 yards or more. But I think UNLV's defense is going to be a massive test for him.
Would you take a bet right now that Ashton Jeanty will be over 100 yards in every game? I mean,
probably not.
You wouldn't? You think there's going to be a game where he doesn't break 100 somewhere, some way? I just can't see it with this kid, dude.
Well, based on your weekend betting record, I'm not going to take any betting advice from you.
Thanks, man. I mean, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen.
No, and I agree with that part.
I think he's, man, I mean, he's averaging 208.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and he's doing it in different ways.
And the tough part of the schedule was in the first 6 games, if you ask me, with Oregon and Washington State.
I think you're disrespecting UNLV's defense.
You know,
put that in there too. The first 7 games.
First 7, yeah.
After that, I think it gets remarkably close.
I can't wait for that UNLV game, man. UNLV's only giving up 3 yards a carry, huh?
Yeah, no, the UNLV's defense is legit, dude.
That's
really
big.
legit.
They're
good.
All right.
I mean, they're only giving up 22 points a game. UNLV's given up 22 points a game.
Boise State needs that to be a big game, I think, too. Friday night, scene, that could be a massive. I mean, that could be. I mean, could that be, if there is a moment, Ashton Jeanty's kind of stamping Heisman favorite moment on a Friday night if he rushes for 300 yards or something on them?
Well, if he
certainly on that defense.
Yeah, if he runs for 300 yards, sure. But I think he's already had a couple of his Heisman moments. That's the beautiful part. I think he's already had them.
I mean, he's putting together the most spectacular reel of highlights I think I've seen. I mean, since Barry, maybe in 88, you'd have to go back and look at some other players. Christian McCaffrey had sensational stuff. Obviously, Reggie Bush, who we always name kind of in comparison with Jeanty. Let's go to the Double Tap Pub hotline. It's 208-424-9300. Your thoughts, really where you want to go, right, Prater? What's on your mind, Bronco Nation? Are we done with the quarterback stuff? Are you still having quarterback conundrums? You want to talk Maddox Madsen, Malachi Nelson? You want to talk the wide receivers? What's up with the defense? They gave up 287 yards to Hawaii. Are you going to get off its back a little bit? Or did you still see some secondary issues that you think we need to talk about? Open it up, JP. We got lines open for you at 208-424-9300. Does it feel like old times, Bronco Nation? Top 15, Heisman Trophy candidate, a playoff looming. What is this? Let us know your thoughts when we come back on Prater in the Ball Game.
This is Ticket Traffic.
Headed west on 184, no backup to deal